Bring on this computer. We got a good crew going, man. I'm excited about what we got going. What's going on, everybody? Good to see everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Usual,
Happy New Year.
the usual, you know, phrase out of the gate. Anybody have anything they're working on right now? I want to just kind of jump into it. I don't want to waste anybody's time. Again, I'll start really quickly. We had a good Christmas, had a good New Year, ready to go for the new year. Going, getting excited for new opportunities. So, anybody else have anything on their mind? What's going on? Like um, opportunities, buildings, things like that. Relationships with brokers, bankers, accountants, attorneys, anything of that kind of nature.
Well, I'll say that some of the feedback that I've gotten from members working with them one-on-one has to do with the holidays just super slow. Nobody really wants to work, like the
Right.
broker and people. So that's kind of the feedback that I've gotten. But it's a new year. A lot of people are motivated to get this year going. So I think it's a great opportunity to get back and get started and start moving things forward.
Yeah, 100%. And I spoke with, like I said in the last live call, I spoke with probably half of everyone talking about our Respark program. It's a little Zane and I we sat down a couple of days ago and just try to map out exactly what we're looking for that. And Respark, if like I see David's on here, I see Matt's on here. I believe I spoke with both of y'all. The whole point of this, and I think Connor's on here too. I spoke with Connor and maybe a couple other cats here. Um, the whole point of the Respark program is not to like teach anybody something new. It's not to say, hey, there's this brand new idea in real estate. It's more of it's truly about accountability. Like and that's kind of what we're getting at. It's you can be a part of it if you want. You can leave anytime you want. You can be as dialed in as you want or little as you dial in, whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is that the people that are going to be a part of that group, which is kind of like our inner circle of like quote unquote want to be action takers, every single week we'll get dialed back and forth with other members. So, like for example, David, you would get dialed in with Matt, and Connor, you get dialed in with Zane, right? Like, and you guys would have to go through that week's um, the boot camp and get on a call together and get a little uncomfortable, which I don't know. I think that's kind of what makes it fun is doing things that you know it's easier to do. So getting a little uncomfortable. So and there's Keone. Hey man. So um does anybody like I said we can get kind of going here today. I wanted to open it up very quickly before I kind of jumped into what we're going to be focusing on in the new year. Anybody got thoughts, questions, wins, losses, anything in between? A glass of wine that they're drinking, like I am. Cool. All right. Well, here's what I wanted to. I'm gonna start um, this video or our group off with a really cool opportunity that I'm working on right now. Okay, and let me give you guys a backstory. I'm gonna show you guys this. Let me just share my screen. So a a deal that I've been working on for a little bit. And again, this is something. If you guys follow, which everyone I'm assuming follows my TikTok and social media, I I did a video about 2.5 weeks ago when I met up with one of my um, the only reason I know this guy, he's $100 million guy in Birmingham. I mean, the Midas touch, anything he touches turns to gold. Like one of those guys. Everyone, you guys know everyone, like you guys know a guy that does that. And when I sat down with him, I was offering him an ability to invest in one of my projects, right? Like that was my pitch. And it was naive because I was thinking too small. Like I was offering him like a $2 million equity stake. And he's like, look, Nolan, love your enthusiasm. Let's keep on hanging out together. But the fact is, if you're not sending me something that's at least 15 million bucks, it's not gonna, and it wasn't even arrogant. It was just like kind of matter of fact. So I realized number one, I was thinking too small. But second of all, what he told me that was really important, that impacted me, that's now, and I'll show you guys in a second what I'm going to be working on that you guys can do. So he goes, Nolan, whether it's $1 million or $100 million, the deal needs to be able to 2x in 12 months. You need to find a way to extract more juice. And we talk about this. But the problem is myself, and I'm looking myself in the mirror here. I've looked at every deal on extracting juice out of the financing aspect, right? How can I get into a deal for no money? Same thing as you guys. How can I have the seller finance the down payment? How can I get, cute terms with the bank on the first position, like the whole thing? But what he was mentioning is like, look, dude, we can figure out the whole financing scheme. Like, that's great. That's all, when you got 100 million, that's a different story. Like the rest of us don't have. But he goes, when you think about it, no matter what the situation is, we got to find a way to double the value of that project or that building or that site in 12 months. And so what it did is it spurred on a lot more creativity in my mind, and it's opened up the way that I'm thinking about investing in projects. Okay. So let me show you guys a building that I own. Okay. I'm gonna do. You guys are getting maybe like a little bit of a really under the hood look at this site. Okay, 301 Second Ave, and actually I'll even show you the email I just got freaking this afternoon from my attorney. Avenue North. Um, so this is the building. So for those that were at my at the live event, you remember. So Zane was there. Who else is on right now?
Ioni,
Was there. Keone was there. Connor was there. Remember this building? Y'all remember this building right here?
I remember.
Yeah. So that's my building right there. Um, but I also purchased the back taxes on this piece of shit right here. Okay. Somebody was in that building before. It looks like an old school actually. It was a printing business. It's 20,000 square feet, okay? And long story short though, what I'm getting at is this is that parcel. This is the other parcel that I own right here. You can see Samron Holdings. I own that building right there, right across the street. And this is the building right here. I also, like I said, I also own this one too. So to find a way to extract juice, like I said, like my very wealthy friend was like, how can we find a way to um double the value of a project? It's helped me think outside the box. How can I think creatively? How can I be creative? How can I use my imagination, right? And I didn't know what to do because I was like, well, what if I could just, because it's got this really cool, like I'll show you, it's got this really cool, this is the way that I was thinking about it before. If you guys follow this, I mean, the guy across the street was using it as an appliance location, which is neither here nor there. But from the it doesn't matter. But from the ceiling, you can notice there's an entire like parking lot right here, and they were just using it as a location to warehouse their stuff. And I'm like, this is a huge parcel of opportunity to just I'm thinking I'm getting like 550 a foot here. This is another building that I own right here. So it's like right over here. So I've got like a couple of properties like right here. I'm like, how can I just create a monopoly? That's where my head is. And this is rented at like 625 a foot. I've got this rented at like six or actually like 550 a foot. So I'm thinking creatively, how can I increase value like right over here, right? And so So what I'm thinking about doing, and I sat down with my broker Sam, who maybe y'all met him before or not. Zane definitely has.
Mhm.
What we wanted to do is instead, this is where the creativity came in. Instead of thinking about this as the asset, right? So think about this for a second, all right? Everybody think about this. My focus was on the building that I purchased, right? In this case is the back taxes. Instead, what if I focused on the adjacent parcels, okay? So, what I mean by that is what if look at this little parcel down here, this little tiny little beat bopper. Look at this little piece of shit. 2,000 square feet warehouse, right? Nothing. But what if I bought this parcel and I looked up how much this guy paid for this property? Let's find out. $20,000 for that parcel. He also paid the same guy $10,000 for that parcel. What if I was to offer this dude? Again, I'm just kind of coming up with this. This is Sam and I coming up with this like last week. We're like conspiring, right? What if we came up with a way to buy this building, this property, which looks like a decent little commercial property? We bought this site either on terms creatively or just bought it for them straight out the gate and allows us to purchase this lot. I flatten this entire parcel. I've both of these parcels actually. I fence and I gravel it, and I use this little parcel as a way for like a dump truck company or a distribution or a contractor. And all this is just lay down yard, fence graveled, secured, the whole song and dance. Because what it has done in my mind is now if I do this way, because I just got an email from my attorney, I'll show you guys. I'm just being totally transparent because I don't really care. Look at this. He's like, hey, good news. Just received this happened like 2 hours ago. Release liens for both Jefferson County liens. I bought this building for $9,000, the back taxes of the liens. And they were just recorded this afternoon. Like liens being recorded. Or the lien release being recorded. Release of tax lien. So I guess what I'm getting at is I'm not trying to be like high and mighty or anything, but what I'm figuring out is after my guy said that, it changed my perspective a little bit on like how to extract more value out of a piece of property. Instead of just thinking about a parcel that I own, rather, what if I was to look around it? I mean, because now I'm thinking about it because now once I sat down with Sam, we started talking about it. I'm like, well, what about the building right across the street? What about these guys? Like who's to say that like, look at this. Like, look at these. This is in Birmingham, right? Like, whatever, right? But like, who's to say I don't buy this? I don't purchase that parcel. I don't try and purchase this parcel. I don't grade it. I fence it. I gravel it. And I've got like 2 laydown yards with a decent little tiny little office space that I can improve very quickly. So again, uh, kind of coming hot out of the gate going into the new year, of course. But man, that's what I'm thinking about in the new year, especially after I had that um, dialogue with my very very wealthy friend, and it kind of had a little click with me. I was like, dude, he's like, that's the way that we look at every project. It's like, you know, if you ever want to buy something at an 8.5 cap, that's usually for like a trust or a fund. Like those types of buildings, those guys that are buying that building are usually people that have to park capital somewhere. But we're in the business of finding ways to double or triple the value of the site just on the purchase based upon our intuition and our imagination and our creativity. So for y'all, when you guys are walking sites or you're looking at buildings, again, I'm not a martyr. I'm just thinking about it like out loud. But now, after he said that, and after I sat down with Sam last week, we had lunch and discussed it. It's changed my perspective because now, even on the other couple of buildings where we try and buy rent a side lot or whatever, trying to improve the real estate. I had never really thought about looking at the adjacent sites until my guy, who's not, my friend's name is Brett. His name is Brett, and he's like, "This is the way that I do everything." And I'm like, "It's no wonder that you can buy something for 20 million and pop it at 60 in like 18 months." I mean, he has the Midas touch, and it's candidly remarkable. But um, that's a little quick little story, but that's kind of what I'm working on right now. That's a little development site that I'm trying to create, and I wanted to hear if anybody else has a thought or they're trying to work on something similar to something like that. Zane or anybody else have an opinion on that?
I,
I do.
I do have a question, sorry, Matt. You look like you have your microphone off. You got
I
something
do. Yeah.
to
Go
add to
ahead,
that?
Zane. That's fine. I'll go
Okay,
after you.
I'll ask my question. So I have two questions. First of all, have you spoken to the homeowner yet? I know you guys just had this conversation, but the homeowner of that like shitty little house that was in between the two properties, have you spoken to them yet?
Well, check it out. Let's discover who actually owns both of them. Oops,
Hmm.
gosh. Let's see here. So it's actually, believe it or not, it's the same person. Real
Wow,
Hernandez. It's the same person. So,
interesting.
so my guy Sam is in contact with Real, and we're offering him a 4x on his money right now. So that's his 4x on the one building. So means we're going to write him a check for 80 for both parcels. So we'll see if
Interesting.
he decides to, and that's all in the hope that we clear all the lanes on the building. So we'll find out. We'll see.
And is he currently using that space, the little warehouse type of space beside the house, or is
I
that
got to drive over there. I'm really not sure. Like Sam and I
okay?
started to drum up this little idea on Thursday or Friday when we had lunch. But
Mm,
now I'm just like absolutely gangbuster for it. I'm just
yeah.
because it just changed my perspective. I'm like, well, why don't I just start doing this all the time now? Why don't I just start thinking about like purchasing up like a piece of land and then buying the adjacent parcel that's got a little tiny building on it and just flattening it, fencing it, and renting it out to a trucking company. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So for even if it's like 3,000 a month, it's not even a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm,
you make 3,000 bucks a month in cash flow. Who gives a shit? Who cares? But it's way better higher use than the existing. Like, I mean, it's not making any money for the city, number one. And second of all, you just improve the real estate. So the city's going to make way more money. It's a whole song and dance. That's the way that's the way I've discovered it at least.
yeah. And then my second question was, would you get Sam to go start looking for potential tenants that would want to occupy a space like that with laydown yard and a little warehouse space or office space before you start actually acquiring those two properties and then building them out? Or would you maybe just like pull the trigger and take a risk and then and buy them and then find a tenant later?
I think there's two answers to that. The first answer is I'm always going to be purchasing property that I think has upside. So I'm always going to be thinking about, I know the value of the real estate, especially if I can improve it. I know that there's a lot of meat on the bone. So I don't really care if I don't have a tenant or not at that time, right? Like whatever. If I don't have a tenant at the time when I purchase that property, that's okay. If I know I buy the right property, then I know it's going to be valuable. Somebody will want to rent it. But second of all, they do not make cities when you have outdoor storage. I believe it's called. I believe it's zoned M1. And if anybody's a zoning expert here, you guys can correct me. I believe if it's zoned M1, that is outdoor industrial storage, and there is not a lot of that right now. Usually, it's off the side of the highway. It's usually in like some tiny little municipality that's off of the highway 65, whatever. Municipalities 99% of the time do not want to rezone property from some type of residential or commercial industrial to M1 or outdoor industrial. Most of the adjacent parcels do not want to have that style of tenant, candidly. So what that means is that the when you have an outdoor industrial storage facility or outdoor storage like this, you're talking about like liquid gold right there because nobody is rezoning that site for outdoor storage. So anything that's already there is not going to be, or somebody that's adjacent to that is going to get rezoned for outdoor storage. So meaning you've got a great parcel, you're sitting on a great piece of property, and people are not going to just like the city or the owner of that property not going to go to the city and rezone that site, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
It's a very valuable site if it's zoned properly, and they're not
Hmm.
making more of it, so it makes it more valuable.
I see.
It's the opposite of the US dollar. We keep printing it where gold, there's only so much gold in the world, right? Like there's only so much real estate, there's only so much outdoor industrial storage. So the less of it, the more they rezone other stuff around it, and you don't rezone that one lot, the more valuable it becomes. Is that fair to say?
Hmm. I mean,
Who's
I'm just,
yeah,
oh,
who's
sorry.
no, go ahead, Zane or whoever. Yeah,
I was just thinking like I got my car towed like a year ago, and I found it in a place just like that where they have just gravel, high fences, and just like a small, tiny little office area, and they had all everybody's car just in those gravel parking lots. So I feel like that might be a really interesting property, maybe pretty high demand.
and it goes a little bit against what candidly like all of us in our group have been focused on. Like I'll be totally transparent. Like I said, I don't usually like just go at this, but I bought this freaking building for the back taxes, which is crazy. Like if y'all are looking at this, can you guys still see my screen?
Nope.
Okay, here. Like if you guys like I bought this property. Let me see if I can pull it back up again. I bought this property, this one right here, for the back taxes, which was $8,000. I bought it for 8 grand. So my opinion would be, and I own this one right here, which is 10,000 square feet. I'm like, well, what if I just looked at this one, see how much it would cost? And that's why I was like, wait a minute, the state owns this. So I got really cute. I went down to Montgomery, I did the whole thing and figured out like how to buy it from them. So I bought the back taxes, and now we just like spent a bunch of time clearing all the liens on it. I could show you the title search; it was crazy. But like I said, if I could essentially like knock down these two buildings, create this like massive laydown yard for this little building right here, it goes against kind of our what we usually say are like our must-have metrics. But also, too, it's one of those things where, hey, there's a unique opportunity that pops up, and I'm willing to pull the trigger to see if the gun goes off, that kind of thing. So that's how things will change. So that's kind of my little thing for the new year. Keone, Matt, David, you guys got anything kind of going on right now? Like, tell me what's going on with you guys. And Connor, I see Connor on there too. I mean, I just saw Connor like last night or 2 nights ago at our family dinner. So anybody else got anything going on right now? What's happening?
Well, I'd ask, can you go back to the your screen and just show the overhead view and its proximity to other things in downtown Birmingham?
Sure. So this is a building that I own.
Yeah.
See
Yeah,
that?
even further out, like, or maybe even Google Maps or whatever. Just
Yeah. Let's see here.
um
There you go. Let's see if I can pull this thing out here for a second.
you got to go to the upper left. Yeah.
There we go. There we go.
So
So,
what is the relationship of this property to downtown and other notable areas there? Is it more industrial focused, or is it going to be the next like area for
uh,
uh,
I mean,
restaurants or breweries or things
no,
like that?
no, it's definitely not close to. It's not there yet. So, like, if you look, so Zane, you can give me maybe your opinion. You're more young and outgoing than I
Young
am,
and hip.
kiddos.
That's true.
This,
That's true.
yeah, you are. So if you can you guys see my mouse?
Yeah. Yep.
Permanent. Okay. So if you guys, and Zane, you can call me off. But if you guys go from like where the Steel City Tap is, and you follow this through 65, you go over here to which would be 31, and back up here, this little square right here. I wish I could draw like a little map, but like this little square right here is like the fun zone. Would you agree with that, Zane?
Yeah, I would, and that's like
The fun
very
zone.
downtown, but there's all types of stuff even around kind of in that whole area
There's more
where
fun over here.
there's more
There's a lot
fun.
of fun going this direction. There's
Mhm.
not a lot of fun going this direction, which would be west.
But
So
the thing is, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead, Zane.
No, but the thing is, like, I find it interesting because Nolan is in this little area that's not developed yet,
Right, right.
but all these little areas around Birmingham in a medium-sized developing city have not been developed yet, and they're continuing to start developing into really cool little areas.
Well,
So,
before you, but hang on. Actually,
yeah.
this is actually really great information because Connor, I would like you to speak up because can you give a I mean, I'll brag about Connor for a second. Connor has just murdered it when it comes to his planning and everything that he's doing with the city. Connor, can you give us like a detail about again, uh, y'all are not like in Birmingham, but you can understand that this is the way that developers and people are thinking. Connor's on like the front ground of that. So Connor, can you give us like a little idea of what's going on with this? Is that if that makes sense?
Yeah, so I started a new job as a district manager for kind of a district in Birmingham called Five Point South. You'll see it right down there, right above where it says
Right
Vulcan
here.
Park Museum. So that's an area that's receiving a lot of urban renewal. It is historically been disinvested, and so now they're trying to reinvest in it. It's right next to UAB, which is a Hobbin area. You go west of that toward North Titusville, that is not a popular area yet. But below UAB, when you get into, the Red Mountain community and then Homewood, and then you go right or you go east into Mountain Brook. I mean, this whole area underneath in between 65 and 31 is crushing it. You go north of 6th Avenue right there. You get into kind of the Lakeview and Parkside districts. Parkside is seeing a lot of urban renewal right now with it's an old warehouse district. You go north of First Avenue right there, and the east side of downtown is absolutely crushing it right now too. They're building new stuff all the time. The west side of downtown, however, it's actually zoom in, Nolan, because I can't even circle all that. If you zoom in towards the west side, um, go up, yeah, right. So where you see the Steel City Tap,
Yep.
um, keep going. No. So Birmingham Civil Rights Institute right there. Anything west of that to 65 is called the Switch District. It is needing investment. So if you find a warehouse in the Switch District, Nolan, it's even further east than that. It's to the right of 65. Um, so that area is an incredible space to buy property. It is getting like business improvement district dollars injected into it every year. So that's an opportunity.
Yeah.
And the north side with BJCC, that's a great area to invest, especially with the new event venue and stuff. So if y'all ever have any questions about the Birmingham market, I can tell you,
Yeah, I was
but
gonna
I'm
say
also looking for properties too.
if there's opportunity, like give Connor a call when you have an opinion on or a question about like where business owners are trying to park capital, because Connor is literally on the ground floor. I mean, would you disagree, Connor? Like you're literally talking with business owners every single day on like what their investments doing.
Yeah, I
Crazy.
would say I'm more so in like the Birmingham, like city of Birmingham. So if you're going like way south, way west or east or north, like I'm probably not your guy, but I can tell you anything like in the city. So
That's awesome. Yeah, cool.
Nolan,
Yeah, yeah.
so your property is like a half a block from Radius Recycling, which is, if you
Right.
look on satellite view, it's easier to see because it's a big brown patch. Not on street view, but satellite view.
Let's see if I can figure this whole thing out. This right here. Here we go.
And then you go to First Avenue North and Third, which is where you are at, I believe.
Second.
So if you just zoom out just a little bit, you see the brown patch just to the right. If you zoom out a little bit more, there you go. That right, just to the east of your property is this Radius Recycling, and it's like covers about
Yeah,
3 or 4 blocks.
yeah, sure.
I wonder if, I mean, you're so close there. There's only a couple buildings in between what they're doing and what you're looking at. If there's potential for them to need to expand or anything.
Yeah, that's not a bad question to ask, actually. When I've actually never spoken with them. I mean, I'll be totally honest. I mean, that's a great idea to think about. I've never spoken with them once. I've never thought much about it, honestly. Um, do you think that they like thinking about trying to go like this direction and take this site down or go
Yeah,
across?
yeah,
Um,
potentially. There's a couple other buildings in the way, but it's so close to their facility. Now they do have a lot of land there, but there's what looks
a
like
railroad
railroad
track
tracks and
there.
stuff. Maybe
Yeah.
they need a spot for spare trucks or whatever.
This is a big old site. That's a railroad track
Yeah.
right there. This is a nice building right here. This Golden Flake that actually just got released by some other tenant. I think I'll be honest. I don't know. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know if that's the move or not. There's another building. There's a couple of buildings for sale. Oops. There's a couple of buildings for sale over here that you know, my opinion is I want to create a monopoly. Like I don't know how else to describe it. Like I want to own the whole like this whole part of town.
I will say, Nolan, if you get in now, I just remembered that whole Golden Flakes factory right there over by 65 just got bought
Yeah.
by a Chattanooga redeveloper. They're turning it into like a whole, live, work, play.
Yeah,
So
something I was gonna say is it's getting redeveloped by somebody. Somebody's
yeah,
I
someone
was
based in
not aware what it
Chattanooga,
was.
that could be a great opportunity for if you buy some property like a few blocks away,
But
whether you
look how
stick,
close it is to the highway. Like,
yeah,
let me be candid. Like, again, this is Birmingham, Alabama. So some of y'all are not familiar. The more west that you go like this, candidly just gets more ghetto. I would not want to invest over here. Like, let me just be totally transparent. I would love to own everything on this side of 65. It's incredibly nice, very high end affluence, the whole song and dance. But the city of Birmingham in this little pocket right here just got Connor, maybe you can talk about it, but they just got like a really sick ass like endowment or whatever you want to call it from like the United States to
yeah, Smithfield.
develop this site, to develop this area of Birmingham. It's like it's really nice. So basically, it takes away a little bit from like supply and demand, but a little bit of capitalism, but that's neither here nor there. But most importantly, um, again, this is more talking about Birmingham. I want to talk about more about like where you guys are and what you guys are trying to accomplish. So, what I would say is, and Zane, you and Connor, you guys can give your opinion too. You guys have a thought. My thought is finding ways to extract more juice out of deals or out of property, not based upon the existing site, but based upon what's going on around it. I think that might be like my biggest um, call of the night, if that's fair to say. Like not looking for property just like what it is right now, but just like what's around it. Because like I said, my little guy that was telling me like, hey, look, we don't buy buildings unless it's got like a double X on the return within 12 months. And I'm like, damn, that just seems crazy because I can't find that. But when I start looking around, like even on this one site, I'm like, that's almost seems easy at this point. And so now what it's done, if I could be totally candid, on this one building, I'm like, well, I can do that. Like I can start to like now that I've started to look around, I'm like, well, I can definitely find ways to improve the site. And it's just changed my mindset. I've started to think a little bit more outside of the box versus just like what is as it is as it sits, you know? So for everybody here, instead of just looking at a site and being like, oh yeah, well the building is being offered at this. Well, what if you guys were to look around and be like, well, what's the adjacent sites? Like who owns those parcels? What's the stitch there? Is there an opportunity to have a laydown yard? What would someone pay to have that fenced and graveled? Like, you know, and increase value on a site versus just buying it as is. So that's one thing that happened to me when I met with that guy. I was like, dude, I gotta tell the people about that. So that's where my head is on that. If anybody has an opinion or question or thought on that.
I mean, for me, I would like to get my brain, I'm still new, and having a nice concise buy box makes sense, and it's a simple acquisition, a simple cash flow. It doesn't double your funds. But as I'm looking in the California area, and I've reached out to a good handful of brokers, everything's, a 5.5 cap.
That's
It's
crazy.
and I feel almost like, how do I tell them, well, here's my offer to get to a 10 cap, and I'm basically cutting the asking price in half. So I'm kind of struggling with that aspect. But I mean, obviously, that's where I'm at right now. It doesn't really tie into how do you take what you're looking at and really expand it. But I think that's my struggle right now is like, do we just fixate on the buy box, or do we look at the market and really study the area like you are in Birmingham? And maybe where I'm at right now is not the place to look, but there's some other place that's hopping where it is a combination of your approach of getting a warehouse of a specific size, but also looking at the additional 3 acres of property on it and doing something with that as well. So I'm wondering how to get to that point.
Yeah, I don't think that you're in a bad spot. I think the initial reaction when you see those 5.5 caps, which I mean, like anybody else, you're just like, what the hell? Like, come on, guy, you know, that kind of thing. That's really being offered towards like guys that are trading, you know, 1031 guys, like that whole song and
Yeah.
dance funds, that whole thing. Um, my opinion, again, I'm just a guy, but my opinion is when you make offers at what makes sense to you and you make 20 offers in a month, which sounds crazy, right? Or even 10 offers in a month. And Zane and I have been doing this on that's how I've got like these 12 buildings now. Zane's followed me the whole, you know, and I've just made offers on buildings. And what I've discovered is people will tell me to kick rocks out of the gate. And then a couple months later, something happens with that person. And they say, well, I don't really want to wait around, but I know that I got this one guy that would offer me this price. Maybe he'll negotiate and come together on a price. So, you know, maybe there's an opportunity there just by making offers and they tell you to kick rocks. But 6 or 8 months later down the road, if something goes sideways with that seller, you might end up being the first person they think of. And then what do you know? Because you've developed and you've built your team and the whole song and dance, you can close quickly and you're off to the races on owning a building at like a 9 cap versus a 5.5 cap, just because you made an offer at what made sense to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So do I just need to basically push past my, I'm working to develop these relationship. I have a couple of brokers. They've sent me stuff. It's been good, but I also want them to take me seriously. But when I'm throwing offers like this, they're going to go, well, why am I going to waste my time with you when you're making silly offers on pretty good, properties where they're saying even at the current price, it's great. So, um, I I guess I just have to do it. And the ones that tell me to kick rocks, I just move on and go to, continue
Yeah,
to
I
grow
mean,
my
it sounds
relationships.
like you don't want to like lose, like it's almost like one of those. I don't want to have hard feelings. Like I it's happened to me in the past where uh I grew up in a house where I was like I never wanted I was a people pleaser. I didn't want to make anybody like, you know, upset at me for anything. But now I've discovered is like, look, here's the way that this deal makes sense, guy, whoever it is, not in a derogatory sense, but in just like a matter of fact sense. And you can say, look, this is the way that we offer on buildings, and we would love for you to represent us. And if something for some reason doesn't make sense here, well, then don't worry about it. Then you're not the right guy for what we're trying to do. And I
Yeah.
think that with some of the guys that we're also trying to run with, like some younger brokers that don't have a ton of experience, that are just more like pull the trigger to hear the gun go off. That's half of the fun because they're like, holy shit, this is awesome. I'm making offers on a building. And yeah, it doesn't make sense for what this guy's offering, but who knows? Who knows? This guy, there's a guy in our group who I don't think he's on here tonight, Johnny Surdy, who, if y'all were at our live event, awesome dude. He's got a great social media. Johnny was at our event, and he put an offer on a building in South Florida for $3.5 million, which the guy was offering $5.5 million at a 5.5 cap, like what you just said, Matt. And Johnny offered. I said, dude, stick to your guns. And you guys can ask him about this themselves. I don't think they've closed it yet, but he goes, I offered at $3.5 million what made sense to me, and the guy told me to kick rocks, the whole song and dance. Don't talk to me again. He got like, apparently Zane remembers this probably. He got like physically like ill by the offer, which is bizarre to me. But am I? Can you confirm that, Zane? Am I crazy?
Oh, he got physically
Like
upset
physically
by
upset by the offer?
not
Like
by the seller financing component, but yes, the offer too. He told him to kick rocks, like you were saying.
just
And
bizarre.
so, yeah, the broker was like, anytime he hears the words seller financing, he gets physically and emotionally upset, is
It's just
what the quote was.
weird. But that's not the point. The point is that, what do you know? 6 months later goes by, and Johnny, and you guys can ask him because he's in our group. Uh, the guy calls back and says, "Hey, something happened either with him or his like daughter, or something had like a health situation, and he is like gangbusters to make a financial move." And what do you know? They're like, Johnny and them, like, I think Zen and I are hopefully going to be going down in the next couple of weeks to like go walk the site. And but they're like dialed in on doing this deal with Johnny because of the offer that he made, because it made sense for them, not at the time when he offered it, but it made sense now. So to answer your question, Matt, like again, like everything is up for grabs. There's you make that offer 100 times, you're going to be told to go sleep under the bridge. But man, you just never know what's going to happen, man. You just never know by just making those offers. If
Yeah.
that's totally fair to say.
And I'll add to that as well. And one other kind of, I guess, strategy, if you will, would be just go straight to the seller's broker. If you're worried about your buyer's broker sticking with you and making sure that you're making reasonable offers in order to send you more deals that other people are listing anyways, then it might be the move to just go straight to the seller's broker. Don't even be represented by anybody and
Right.
just draw up an LOI, make it official, put all the terms, spend some time on it, and then send them an official LOI so that they actually take it seriously. And that way you're not hurting anybody's feelings, you're not hurting your own teammates' feelings, your buyer's broker. Instead, you can hurt the seller's broker's feelings, and he might say yes, he might say no, or whatever, but either way, he's got to present that deal or that offer to the seller, and you'll probably hear back with a no, we're good, or at least
I guess some dialogue.
yeah, dialogue, starts a dialogue. There you go.
Okay. Yep.
Thoughts on that? Anybody else have thoughts, questions, anything else on their mind?
Yeah, I'll jump in there. I'll echo those comments.
Hey, Richard.
Sorry, Keone, were you
Happy
going
New
to say
Year,
something, Keone?
No, Richard,
Good
go
one.
ahead.
No, I want to hear from Keone. He's the man.
No, I was just gonna say, Matt, I'm kind of in the same boat too over here in Phoenix. It's West Coast is way different from, East Coast, especially in the South too. But everything out here is pretty much the same, 5.5 to, you know, you're looking at a golden nugget if you're at like 7.5% cap.
Right.
And so same thing that Nolan's kind of talked about and just echoing everybody else too. I've just been putting in ridiculous offers. I want to say burned a bridge, but I've pissed off not a few, maybe one or two brokers by just like doing the same thing, being repetitive with like don't want to call it low balls, but low ball LOIs. And they haven't gone anywhere. They've come back and said, nah, they're not looking for that. And this was back when I first started, so we're coming on, 4, 5, 6 months now, and those buildings are still up there. So I'll go back and
Nice follow up.
depending on the broker, I'll go back and I'll look on them, see if they're still on correct seat, talk to the broker, and see where they're sitting at now. And you just see that price sometimes trickle down farther and farther closer to a better cap rate.
Yes.
And I've just kind of played that game. Obviously, it hasn't worked for me yet, but I'm
It
not
will.
saying.
Yeah, I was
Do
just
you
going to
guys find
say,
that? Oh, sorry, Richard. Go ahead.
no, it's okay, Matt. Go ahead. I'll jump in when you're done.
I was just going to say thanks. Do you find that, because certain areas where I'm at, there's really premium industrial parks with very high quality buildings, but then, you look at the example of your building, Nolan, it was a beater, you painted it, got the one next door, it's trashed. Is that really more of the neighborhood I should be focusing on? The ones that have been around a while and they're kind of
Sounds like you're talking
unkempt.
about like class type of buildings,
Yeah,
A versus
yeah.
B versus C.
Class C.
That's exactly kind of what I brought up to, in particular, one broker. I was like, hey, I don't think we're kind of on the same page here after a couple of months of going back and forth. And he's just sending me these, 5, 6%ers.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I've already submitted, 2 or 3 LOIs at this point. They haven't gone anywhere. I think we kind of need and this was back when I was kind of coming up with my own strategy too. I think we kind of need would it be worth us looking at, more B, C types? And he basically just came back and said, he's like, I'm not that kind of broker sort of deal. So
God.
obviously, needless to say, I don't talk to him anymore. I don't reach out to
That's
him
great.
anymore, and vice versa. He doesn't reach out to me anymore. But I just I've kind of been doing the same thing, and this goes back to kind of stuff that we've talked about in other meetings too. Is just keeping your eyes on the horizon, looking at different sorts of buildings. Don't completely paint yourself into a corner and looking at these, perfect industrial parks in the perfect spot in the middle of Phoenix, for example, for me. I've been looking at the outer, Yuma area is a huge citrus, huge fruit. They have a ton of warehouses out there, a big industrial area. Been looking down in Tucson, been looking all over the state of Arizona. Just kind of playing my cards that way. And again, just like Nolan's talked about too, and just like Zane's talked about too, just being persistent with always looking, always checking, always calling brokers, just following up on stuff, and even checking on stuff that I've submitted LOIs on, had no success on previously. Just keep following up on that kind of stuff. And fingers crossed, if I keep doing it, I'm hoping something will happen. And obviously, you learn a ton too, just going through it that way as well. Obviously, I haven't had any success yet, but that's kind of my MO on it, and what's kind of helped me.
Another piece on that, Keone, is when you go and present your offer to these idiot brokers who sound like they're so high and mighty that they're the smartest guys in the world and they need to be, behind home play at the World Series, those kind of guys.
Mhm.
First of all, they're probably not the best teammates because they're smarter than you, they're better than you, they have, nicer clothes and better cars, right? Like, don't work with people like that, right? Number one. But second of all, if you present it to them, if they're showing you, I mean, it is a math equation. Am I just psychotic for a second? Like, it is a math equation. If they're offering you something at 6.5%, you can say, dude, look at where debt is right now. Am I a crazy person? You run the numbers. If you show them your pro forma, which you have, say, look, this is a $3 million site. I got to show up with, I'm going to borrow $2 million or whatever it is, or $2.5 million. The debt ratio, the debt service on that is at think about the interest rate is even 7%. Even if you bought the rate down, it's 7%. Your loan constant, which is your interest and your principal repayment, is probably going to ballpark at like 8.5%. It always adds about another 1.5%. So if someone's trading you something at 6.5%, it is a waste of time. It's got to be somebody that's got to buy it with cash. It's got to be a 1031 guy or a fund. So those guys that are sending you stuff at those low caps are simply either they're either very incompetent or they're just trying to be difficult on purpose. It's just one or the other. You know what I mean? If that's fair to say. If you show them show them the loan constant. If the loan constant is more expensive than the cap rate, it doesn't make sense. And then of course, on top of that, you have the debt ratio. Yeah, I mean, that's what we always talk about. So I don't know. I get fired up about that because people are just so stupid and they don't think how easy it is to just run the numbers and the math. And these brokers think that they're so high and mighty because they happen to represent some idiot guy that is smarter than the rest of us. It's exhausting, but it's how it goes. All right. I'll take up an offering for my little sermon there. Sorry.
Agreed.
Jeez.
Well, what I'm thinking is like those people who are asking those super high prices at super low cap rates, clearly not motivated. They're just
They're not
occupants
motivated.
or investors that are just like listing their space up on these websites on the market, not motivated. What this conversation is making me want to do is go out there and just start knocking on doors, literally,
Yeah.
and start trying to find these off-market deals or doing something. It's just motivating me to want to go out and do something more.
Okay.
All right, now Richard can talk.
My
That's
little
right.
buddy here. Yeah, Richard, what's on your mind, man?
No, I'm the newest kid on the block here, so everything your rant just went over my head. I didn't understand half of that, so uh, so it was lost on me. I'm not as smart as you guys are, but
No way.
I'm learning. So I'm in sales, and so I know numbers are important. So what you said earlier about putting out 10 or 20 offers a month is kind of where I am right now, and I'm just following your spreadsheet, and I'm hitting all three, making sure the numbers. I'm just lining my offers up with the numbers to make sure we're hitting a 10 cap and all the other two variables, 4 point and or over 4 and over 10 on the other, debt service ratio and cash on cash. And so the good news is I was texting Zane earlier. I've got 3 or 4 brokers that are feeding me, and I've got probably 6 or 8 deals on my desk right now that I haven't run the numbers on yet. I went all day Friday and drove all over Northwest Georgia and was going to look at 2 properties with a broker. We ended up seeing about 6 properties because the seller's agents turned us on to a couple other deals that were in the neighborhood. They're off market. And anyway, up into Chattanooga and some other places like that potentially. So at this point, I'm going to run the numbers like you were saying earlier and just make the offers. And I like the idea of making kind of a dual option offer, the seller financing and then an all cash offer. Hey, we got, A offer and a B offer. What do either one of these interest you? So that's kind of all I'm doing right now, and hoping that somebody bites on some of this. But I understand that the cap rate you were just mentioning, these 5 and 6 cap rates are kind of ridiculous in this market. But anyhow, that's kind of where I am.
I love the dual offer on the LOI. That's kind of one thing that we weirdly discovered by happenstance. Remember that, Zane? Probably about a year ago, we discovered that, and man, it's been what it does. Obviously, Richard, is it creates the illusion of choice. So you have it's like, oh well, I have this choice or this choice. They don't ever think there's ever a third option, so they choose one or the other, which is of course funneling right back to you. So I would say that we'll just keep that moving forward. Sorry, I'm not trying to lose my focus here. Prior is being a silly boy. That's a hate, everybody. But yeah, that's kind of where our head is. I've lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Let me jump in here and while you're getting your train of thought back. I like it because with my broker partners that I'm building trust with, it doesn't make me look like I think like Keone or Matt was saying a minute ago, like we're just throwing out ridiculous offers all the time. We're offering a couple different options, and we've run the numbers, and this was what works for us and our business partners. And if it doesn't work for you, that's okay, fine. Maybe we'll later. If not, that's okay. We'll go to the next one. That's kind of how I'm approaching it.
Yeah, that's right. It's like it's almost like if you need the deal way less than they do, then you're going to end up being the winner. Anytime that you need the deal more than they do, then you're in a disadvantage. So like it's almost like, hey, look, end of the day, we're going to make this offer. If it's not for you, no problem. We got 60 other deals that we're doing deals with, and if it's not for you, no big deal. That way, it's like you put the ball in their court, and you're the one that's going to end up being, hopefully the winner. That makes sense.
Well, that's how I'm coaching my broker partners too. Is look, we're going to be making lots of offers. We're going to be doing the dual option seller financing, all cash, and we may be we're obviously going to be coming in what they're listing it at, but just hang with us. We're going to get a deal or two. We're going to put some money on your table, and then once we do that, then hopefully we'll start earning some trust, and these guys won't be as. I haven't found a whole lot of reluctance yet with the brokers, but I'm sure I will soon as I start making more offers and none of them get accepted. But that's okay. It's a numbers game.
100%. Let's do this. Before we get moving, I want to again invite everybody to the Respark, which is going to be next Monday night. And I'll send an email to all of y'all that are on here tonight just to like confirm everything. But basically what it is, it's just a it's an accountability group. Without being more or less. Zane, would you like to touch on that real quick? Or I mean I can do it myself, but it's very, we're going to just make sure that everybody, if they want to be accountable to each other, and like whatever we're doing during that week of the boot camp, you will participate and be a part of it. Are you good with that, Zane? What's your thought?
Yeah, I mean, you can think of it as just kind of like our coaching calls, but as a group. And we're going to go over everybody's progress for the week, making sure that you just have the inputs taken care of over time, and the results will take care of themselves, of course.
Yeah, that's right. You give the inputs, the outputs are inevitable at that point. So I will send an email to everybody to make sure that we're all on the same page on that. And if you guys have any, again, desire to be a part of that, just like let us know. We'll get this thing rolling. So sound good with everyone?
Sounds fantastic.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm excited for 2025, guys. Again, like I'm bullish. I hope you guys are bullish too.
Yep.
You got my cell. Anything that's on your mind, anytime, like just holler at Zane or I. We are always on standby. We are ready to partner. We're ready to make a move. So let us know if there's anything on your mind. Okay.
One last thing. If you guys haven't gotten with me or texted me or commented on Nolan's post about the Respark program, just do that. Make sure to do that before Monday.
Yeah. And we'll all square up though. We'll make sure we're all on the same page, and I'll get all that stuff to everybody anyway. So that sounds great. Thank you for doing that. All right. Y'all have a great evening. Thanks so much, guys, for joining. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
See you guys.